From the title of the video, you already know that I'm going to talk about the scope of the project. But if you have seen my previous videos about project management, then you might recall that I have talked about scoping before. The scope I talked about in the first video of titled Project Management is actually product scope. And now I'm going to be talking about project scoping. The scope of a product is, as I have said before, the features and functions of a product or service. And project scope is completely different than product scope. This video is about scoping of the project. Here you will learn in detail about what is project scoping and how to do scoping. So first of all, the definition of project scoping. Project scope is a part of the planning stage of the project. If you remember about my video on project life cycle, then you already know that scoping is actually a part of the planning stage. When you are scoping a project, you are going to determine what are the goals of the projects, what tasks are needed to accomplish the goals, and what will be the cost of project and who will do the task by what time. So basically, scoping is actually figuring out what are you going to do to the smallest unit. For example, if your project is about developing a new model of smartphone, then the scoping needs to be divided down to the smallest structure of the task, like manufacturing lenses for the front camera. The main idea is simple here. Project scoping is planning all of the minuscule tasks ahead. Now I'm going to talk about how to actually do the project scoping. There are specialized softwares that can greatly enhance your ability to do project scoping. The two that I know about are Microsoft Project and WBS Pro. Of course, these are not free. You can do scoping for yourself without the use of those softwares. I am going to show you two ways of doing it in this video. First one is through work breakdown structure and the second one is through Gantt chart. You don't necessarily need the software to create a work breakdown structure. You can actually use a piece of paper or you can do it on a whiteboard as well. After doing this, it will look something like this one. You can also use Gantt chart and it actually is much easier to see what tasks are due when and who needs to do what. There are softwares that can help you to do that, or you can easily use Microsoft Excel to create a Gantt chart for yourself. Now I'm going to talk about the example, and obviously my favorite example is a class project. Well, I use this example all the time because according to data, majority of my viewers are aged from 18 to 24. So I assume that they are here to learn the concept for their education. And the best example is the example you can relate to. I don't think any project managers are here to know more about Gantt chart from me. So for the students, the example of a class project. In the work breakdown structure of a simple class project, let's say that you have to visit a marketplace and write down a report about it. I tried to make the simplest of work breakdown structure. First of all, let's say it is obviously a group project. Then the first step would be for you to get to know all of your group mates. Then you need to divide the tasks and figure out who is going to be the group leader. Since the group leader has a lot of responsibilities, this is an important task to determine who will be leading the group from the beginning. Then you have to plan individual deadlines of every task. You also need to plan about when you are going to visit the market. The execution will start after that. First of all, you will have to visit the market to gather information. Then all of you will have to start writing the report. After that, the group leader will collect the full report and make some corrections if needed. And for closing, you'll hand over the report to the professor. And when all of these are done, the professor will give you a grade on the overall performance. And that was the simplest work breakdown structure of a class project. It starts with initiation and ends with closing. Now, Gantt chart. It is not necessarily easier to make a Gantt chart compared to work breakdown structure, but the timeline is more visible in this chart. So let's say you have 4 group members in a group. They are John, Eddie, Mary, and Jerry. You can see that each of them are represented in different colors. There is a reason for that, obviously. And now this is what a basic Gantt chart will look like. This is the simplest form of Gantt chart that I have made using Microsoft Excel. There are much better looking charts out there, I know. Microsoft Project also uses Gantt chart if I am not mistaken. Now, if you see here, you can notice that I have numbered the top row. This is where the dates are going to be, and some of the cells are color coded and some were white. The cells that are white indicate that all of the group members need to participate in that task, and the color coded cells mean that they are to be performed by a single or a couple of members. This is the way of scoping a project that is going to help us visualize the tasks to be performed by individual members and the dates they are to be completed by. For the sake of visualization, I like this one better. Once again, project scope and product scope are not the same thing. And with that, I'd like to end this video today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something new today. And for the bonus part, I'd like to say that the Spanish word for foot is not pie, it's pie.